The Boy and the Broken Kite. In a quiet village, there was a boy named Leo. He had a simple dream: to fly the biggest kite in the world. One afternoon, he and his father went to the park to fly a new kite Leo had just bought. But as they struggled with the string and the wind, the kite got stuck in a tree. Leo disappointed. "I worked so hard to save up for this kite. It's ruined." An old man who was walking nearby noticed Leo's frustration. He approached and smiled. "Sometimes things don't go as planned, but it's how we handle the setbacks that matter most." Leo sadly, "But I can't get the kite back." The old man nodded and helped Leo retrieve the kite. As they walked back, the man explained that the kite was more than just a toy. It symbolized the dreams and ambitions that can sometimes get stuck along the way. "Old man, you see, dreams sometimes get stuck, but that doesn't mean they can't be freed again. You just need guidance and patience." As years went by, Leo grew up to become a successful entrepreneur. But one thing he never forgot was the old man's words. When he encountered challenges in his business, he always remembered that setbacks were just opportunities for growth. One day, Leo returned to the park where he had first struggled with his kite. He saw a young boy, much like himself, trying to fly a kite that was stuck in a tree. Leo walked over to him and smiled. "Let me help you with that. Chasing dreams is easier when you have guidance and support." Leo's journey taught him that even when your dreams seem stuck, a little help and persistence can set them free. The moral: never give up on your dreams, and remember that a little guidance can lead you to success. Story 2. The Tree That Cried. In a small village, nestled at the foot of a mountain, there was an ancient tree. It was said that the tree had lived for centuries and had witnessed countless events in the village. Its thick trunk stood tall, with branches that stretched across the sky, providing shade and shelter to the villagers for generations. One day, a young boy named Adam was playing near the tree when he noticed something strange. The tree, which had always been silent and sturdy, appeared to be shedding what looked like tears. Adam's curiosity grew as he approached it, his heart filled with wonder and concern. Adam whispering, "Why are you crying, old tree?" The tree, in a low and sorrowful voice, began to speak. "I have seen much in my life, young one. I have seen joy, sorrow, and loss. I have seen countless children play beneath my branches, but now my leaves wither and my roots weaken. I am the last of my kind." Adam, filled with compassion, sat beneath the tree and listened intently. He asked the tree about its past and the many generations it had witnessed. The tree spoke of how people had once cared for the land, but over time, they had become more focused on themselves and less on the earth that provided for them. Now, people take from the land without giving back. My friends, the other trees, have fallen, and I am the last one left. My heart aches for the world I once knew. Adam, deeply moved by the tree's words, made a promise. He decided that he would restore the forest that once surrounded the tree. He began to educate the villagers about the importance of nature, teaching them to plant trees, reduce waste, and protect the environment. His message spread, and soon the entire village rallied together to bring life back to the land. Years passed, and the village transformed. The barren land began to bloom with new trees, flowers, and plants. The tree that had once cried now stood proudly, surrounded by new life, its leaves shining in the sunlight. Adam's efforts helped restore what had been lost, proving that even one person can make a difference. The tree's tears were not just of sorrow, but of hope, for change was possible if people cared enough to act. The moral: our actions today shape the world of tomorrow. If we care for nature, it will thrive once again. Story 3. The Farmer and the City Man. John, a stressed-out businessman, lived in the city where his life revolved around meetings, deadlines, and the constant rush. He had everything: wealth, luxury, and success, but he felt an emptiness inside. His life was a whirlwind of responsibilities and expectations, and he had forgotten how to slow down and enjoy the simpler things in life. One day, feeling overwhelmed by his hectic schedule, John decided to take a short break. He drove out of the city, hoping to find some peace in the countryside. After a long drive, he arrived at a small farm, where he was greeted by an elderly farmer named Samuel. "John, hello, I've come to escape the city for a while. I'm looking for some peace and quiet." Samuel, smiling, "Well, you've come to the right place. Life here is simple, but it's peaceful." Samuel invited John to spend the day with him on the farm. At first, John found it hard to adjust. He was used to the fast-paced, technology-driven world of the city, and the slow, methodical pace of farm life seemed foreign to him. As the day went on, Samuel taught him how to plant vegetables, collect eggs, and take care of the animals. With each task, John began to feel a sense of calm he hadn't felt in years. Samuel wisely, "You see, John, in the city, you may have everything, but here, we have what we need. The land provides, and we give thanks for it. Life is about appreciating what we have, not chasing what we don't." By the end of the day, John was amazed by the peace he felt. He realized that in his pursuit of success, he had neglected the simple joys of life, spending time with others, appreciating nature, and living with purpose. Before he left, Samuel gave John a small bag of vegetables from the farm as a gift. "Take this with you. Remember, life isn't about how much you have, but how much you appreciate what you have." John returned to the city with a new perspective. He learned that simplicity and gratitude lead to true happiness, and that sometimes the best way to find peace is to slow down and appreciate the little things in life. The moral, simplicity, and gratitude lead to true happiness. Story 4, The Borrowed Shoes. Tom was a rich teenager who had everything a person could want: the latest gadgets, designer clothes, and a life of luxury. One day, he was walking through the local market when he saw a poor boy named Daniel sitting on the sidewalk with worn-out shoes and ragged clothes. Tom, in his usual arrogance, looked down at the boy and scoffed. Tom, mocking, "Why don't you get a job and buy yourself some decent clothes?" Daniel looked up at Tom, his eyes filled with sadness but not anger. "I don't have the means, but I'm not complaining. I make do with what I have." Tom snorted, dismissing the boy's words. But that night, he found himself thinking about Daniel's simple response. It troubled him, and he couldn't stop thinking about how different their lives were. The next morning, Tom's father suggested he spend a day in the life of someone less fortunate to learn about empathy. Reluctantly, Tom agreed. His father gave him the idea of walking a day in someone else's shoes. Literally. Tom met Daniel again the next day, and, as part of the challenge, Daniel offered to lend him his old shoes for the day. Daniel gently, "Here, take my shoes for a day. Let's see how it feels." Tom reluctantly agreed, feeling uncomfortable but not wanting to back out. The shoes were too small and uncomfortable, and as he walked through the market, he could feel the weight of each step, realizing how difficult it was to walk in Daniel's shoes. Throughout the day, Tom faced many difficulties. His shoes hurt his feet, he had trouble walking long distances, and people stared at him as he went about his day. By the end of the day, he was exhausted and frustrated, but he gained a new appreciation for the struggles of those who didn't have the luxury he took for granted. When he returned the shoes to Daniel, he apologized for his earlier words. Tom, humbly, "I never realized how difficult life can be for you. I'm sorry for the way I treated you." Daniel smiled, understanding that Tom had learned a valuable lesson. Daniel kindly, "It's okay. Sometimes we just need to step into someone else's shoes to truly understand them." Tom's experience taught him an important lesson. Empathy begins when we step into someone else's shoes and understand their struggles. It was a life-changing moment that reshaped his perspective forever. The moral: empathy begins when we step into someone else's shoes. Story 5: The Forgotten Birthday. Sarah was a little girl who had always looked forward to her birthday with excitement. Every year, her parents made a big deal of the day, decorating the house with balloons, baking her favorite cake, and throwing a party with her friends. But this year was different. As the day passed, Sarah noticed something unusual. Her parents didn't seem to be paying much attention to her. They were busy with their work, talking on the phone, and running around the house in a hurry. As the evening approached, Sarah's disappointment grew. She went to her room, sat on her bed, and started to cry quietly. "How could they forget my birthday?" she thought, feeling hurt and sad. Her parents didn't even wish her. They seemed distracted, and Sarah felt like they didn't care about her special day at all. She decided to go to bed early, her heart heavy with the feeling of being forgotten. The next morning, Sarah's parents came into her room with huge smiles on their faces. Her mother held out a beautifully wrapped box, and her father carried a big cake. Sarah was confused, but curious. Her mother gently sat down beside her on the bed and said, "Happy birthday, sweetheart. We're so sorry we didn't show it yesterday. We were preparing something special for you." Sarah wiped her eyes and looked at her parents, surprised and still a little upset. "What do you mean? Why didn't you tell me yesterday?" Her father smiled warmly and said, "You see, we were planning a surprise for you. Yesterday we were out getting everything ready for today. We wanted to make sure everything was perfect for you." As her parents explained, Sarah realized that their distraction wasn't because they didn't care. It was because they were working hard to make her birthday extra special. They had been planning a surprise party with all her friends, and the cake was a beautiful homemade creation with her name written on it in sparkling letters. Sarah felt her heart warm up as she saw her parents' loving effort. She understood that sometimes people are so focused on making something perfect that they may forget to show their love in the moment. Her parents hadn't forgotten her birthday at all. They were just busy making it memorable for her. Sometimes we can misinterpret people's actions. Sarah learned that we shouldn't jump to conclusions when someone's behavior seems different from what we expect. People often care more than they show, and their love might be expressed in ways we don't immediately recognize. The moral: don't jump to conclusions. People often care more than they show.